Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the recording studios of the Music in You, also known as the middle bedroom upstairs by me. All right, so if you hear anything like dogs barking or anything like that, that is coming from Studio B across there. So you could just please ignore it. Okay. So the last video that we did was on a topic, synesthesia, that was sort of, it didn't relate exactly to course content. This video, however, relates to stuff that we had done specifically in session 6, where we started to look at scales and chords and keys, things like that. So we will go back there for a little while. We'll do a little revision, and then we will proceed to the body of this video. Okay, right. So here we have our first slide. Remember this, we were looking at the keyboard, and we were looking at the white keys on the keyboard and the black keys, and we were discussing octaves, etc., etc., etc. We saw that the black keys, all the black keys had two names, the enharmonic keys. So C, all the white keys have one name, and we went from A back up to A, back up to A. That's the octave, from one letter to the next letter. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A, and the black keys in between there. A, you go to black keys, A sharp or B flat, all right? Then B to C, C to C sharp, D, D, D flat, D to D sharp, or E flat, then E to F, F to F sharp, or G flat, G to G sharp, or A flat, all right? So the black keys all have two names, either a sharp or a flat. Now, the next thing about the keyboard is that every interval here is called a semitone. All right, so from C to C sharp is one semitone, from E to F is one semitone, from D to C is a semitone, from D to D flat is also a semitone going in the next direction, going down. All right, so just bear those two things in mind as we'll go on. Now, the next thing that we spoke about in that section of the course was scale patterns. And here we have, you'll cast your mind back and you remember some of this or all of this. Remember that we saw the major scale patterns followed, all the major scales on the keyboard or in music follow this pattern: tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. I am British trained, so we're using tones and semitones, not whole steps and half steps. Okay, and the natural minor is tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. For this session, we will ignore the emotional side of things, bright and happy, sadness. Let's ignore that. What we are concentrating on right now is the tonal patterns. All right, so we have the major, the natural minor. We also have these two here, and we also saw the different modes. All right, Ionian, which is the major scale, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. And all of these have their own scale patterns. All right, so we also saw the pentatonic scale, which is a little different. Chromatic scales are scales that go up by a semitone. Okay, you only have one chromatic scale. And you also can have scales of tones going up. Each interval is a tone, right? But we're going to be looking at mainly in this session, in this recording, the major scale pattern and the minor scale pattern. And one last revision, scale very topic of revision would be this, the key signatures. And we saw that a major scale, the C major scale doesn't have any key signature. The G major scale has one sharp, the F sharp. D major has two sharps, going right along like that. Okay, so you remember this. And you would also remember that for every major scale, there is a relative minor scale, which is 3 semitones down from the tone of the major scale. All right, so for C major, you go down by 3 semitones, which will be B, B flat, and then A, and that will give you its relative minor key. Right, same for each one of them. Okay, now, right, so that's the revision. Okay, so for this session, we are going to combine a few things. We're going to combine our music, and we're going to combine arts and craft, and we're going to combine those two with some geometry. All right, now to do all of that, I need to, to share my second camera. And I will show you exactly what we're going to do in this exciting session. Right. There you go. So what we have here is my sketch pad, which I bought from Ishmael and Khan for $20. All right. And we have some drawing pencils. And what we're going to do is draw out some stuff. Now, before I go to this, I forgot to show you something. All right, let me just go back here. All right, we're going to go back for a little while to the charts, and I want to show you something. Okay, the keyboard. Now, what I want to do now, you have to use your imagination a little bit here. What we are going to do is wrap around. We're going from one, we're going to a distance of 1 octave. So let's start at C. So we're looking at C, C sharp, D, D sharp, or E flat, E, F, G, F sharp, G, etc., right up to this C. All right, so this is 1 octave, all the notes, black and white. And what we're going to do is wrap this around itself to form a circle. All right, so we're taking this C here, and we're wrapping it around like this, and we're setting it right back on this C here. So what you end up with is a circle of semitones. So we're taking the linear representation and we're turning it into a circle. Cool, Brizo? Right, now what we end up with is called as the circle of semitones. All right, so having understood that, let's go back to the sketch pad. Right. So here we have the sketch pad, and what we have here is what I just spoke about, which is the circle of semitones. So here we have, let's start at C. So we have C, C sharp, D flat, right? Then we have D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp or G flat, G, G sharp or A flat, A, A sharp, B flat, B, and then C. So we go right around from C to shining C. Let us not go off topic and mention C to shining C. All right, so we're going from, oh, it's not necessary from C to C. So we can go from, it could be from B to B, whatever, wherever you start from, you go right back on itself. All right, so you have all the white notes and all the black notes in the octave. Okay, now what we're going to do with this is trace out the major scale pattern. So I will use the Scholar pen. So we're looking at the major scale. Major scale. Right, the major scale. And the pattern for the major scale is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Right? I hope you could see that properly. Okay, right. So we're going to trace that pattern out here. So let us start at C though. This is our starting point here. Right? So let us go. We're going tone, and up here. Remember, these are the intervals are semitones. So 2 semitones will give you a tone. Right? So tone, another tone, and you have here, and then semitone, with this, and then from there you go to another tone, you end up on G, tone, and then another tone, you end up on A, and then another tone, end up on B, and then the last semitone jump. Here you end back up here, this position. All right. So there you have the pattern here. Okay, let me just darken it a little bit. Tone. Let's use my lack of skills. Tone, tone. All right, tone, tone, semitone. The smaller one here. And then we go again, tone. 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 And then semitone. Okay, so you have a nice little pattern here. This is the major scale pattern. All right, so if you position our circle of semitones here in that pattern there, you will have the major scale, C major. Remember, you're starting at C. So C major will be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Right? And that C major will sound like, right? Right, and that is your C major pattern. Now, the important thing about this too, right, you understand, is that you can start at any point. So for example, if you start at D, okay, what you get are the notes for the D major scale. They are D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. So you can see that the pattern, the geometrical pattern, gives you a visual representation of the scale, and you can actually see the key signatures of each scale, each major scale. So the key signature for D major will be F sharp and C sharp. All right. For C major, of course, you don't have any sharps or flat. All you have sharps or flats. All you have are the white keys: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Right. And let's do this for another scale. Let's say G major. So we position this on G. Right. So here you have G major, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. All right, so that gives you the notes for the G major scale. And as you can see, G major has one sharp, F sharp. All right, there you are. Now you can do this for any, you can start at any point on the circle of semitones. For example, if you start at, let's say E flat, right, or D sharp, E flat. So E flat will be E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, and then back to E flat. All right, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, and D. And that gives you the major scale for E flat major, right? E flat major, and that should sound like this. I'm trying to get my keyboard on. E flat major. All right, there you go. So E flat major, E, F, G, A flat, E flat, C, D, back to E flat. Right, so you see it sounds just like the major scale. Right. So that is fascinating enough. It gets more fascinating when we look at other scale patterns. For example, we had mentioned that for every major scale, you have a relative minor scale going down 3 semitones. So if the major scale starts here, the minor scales will start 1 semitone and 1 tone, which will give you 3 semitones, 1, 2, 3. So the minor scale pattern actually starts here. And we can test that out. So if, for example, so the minor scale pattern, if you start here, would be tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, right? And that gives you the natural minor scale pattern, right? So let's just do that. Okay, so let's look at A minor. This is your starting point now at this point. Right, so A minor would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then back to E, right? And that is the relative minor for C major, because C major and A minor have no sharps or flats in its key signature. All right, so C major, only white tones, A flat minor, A minor, only white notes. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's do another natural minor scale. There you go, you have to position this properly. Right. So if you look at B, B minor would be B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, back to B, right? And this is the relative minor of D major. D major starts here. This is where you start the major pattern, right? Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. This is the major scale. So D major has F sharp and C sharp in its key signature. The relative minor, which will be B, starts here. Tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, right? And that is B, C sharp, right? Then D, E, F sharp, the same key signature as D major, G, A, and then back to B. And B minor sounds like, so you have B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, E, right? A and B, back to B, right? So this circle of semitones can be used to visually demonstrate the major scale patterns, the minor scale patterns, and even look at the key signatures of each key, each scale or each key, all right? And now this these patterns actually, you can trace out the patterns for all of the modes from here, all right? So for example, the first mode is the Ionian mode, all right? And that is the exact same thing as the major scale. Ionian starts here, right? Ionian, right? The next one is the Dorian mode, and the Dorian will start here. I'll just put a big D. Dorian starts here, and the Dorian scale pattern is tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone, right? This is the major scale pattern, the scale pattern of the Dorian mode. And you can go for each mode, going along like that. The Next mode is the Phrygian mode. And that starts here. The Lydian mode starts here, the fourth one, Lydian, right? Then you have the Mixolydian, that scale pattern starts here. Then the Aeolian, which is the natural minor scale, right, starts here. And the last mode is the Locrian mode, and that starts here. Put the X, put an O just to distinguish it from the Lydian. All right, so you can see that this little flourish, all right, gives you all the scale patterns of all the modes in music. And you can even see that this flourish represents Western music from about 500, the year 500, right down to modern times, which is these times. In between, I think 500 and 1500, the scales that, the modes that had dominated music, particularly the Dorian, the Phrygian, the Lydian, and the Mixolydian. All right, when music moved from mode specific or mode oriented to more tonal music, from modal to tonal, then the major scale pattern, the major scale and the minor scale came into importance. So then the Ionian and the Aeolian modes became dominant. The Locrian mode came in a little after. Right, so this flourish here represents centuries of Western music tradition. Right, now you can also use the flourish to look at chords. For example, the major C major, the major scale chord. Let's use a different color. All right, so you remember the major scale pattern, we're looking at triads, would be the first, the third, and the fifth of every major scale. That gives you the major scale, major chord, right? So for example, C major starts off at C, of course. The third of the scale will be the E, which will be here, right? And the fifth, or the perfect fifth, would be G. All right, so for C major would be represented by this pattern here. And that's C major. All the major chords can be represented by this pattern, for example. All right, so for example, D major. You position the D at the starting point. So D major will be D, F sharp, and E. All right. So that's C major. D major will be this. All right. And you can see the notes for every major chord by positioning the wheel of semitones at the starting point of the chord pattern, major chord pattern. So this would be F major here, F, A, and C. That's F major. Right. If you want to get some black notes in, F sharp major would be F sharp, E sharp, and C sharp, right? F, E, or G flat, B flat, and C sharp. Right, so that would be F sharp. Last one, C sharp. Right, so this is F sharp major. All right, so the pattern can be used, these patterns can be used to visually represent scales and chords. And I wouldn't go into the pentatonic scale here, but you can also draw the pattern for the pentatonic scale. And you can see the, for example, F sharp pentatonic will be F sharp, G, G sharp, E sharp, C sharp, D sharp, and then back to C, and then back to F sharp. Only the black notes, all right? So you can see that the pentatonic here from black to black to black. I can trace this out, but I didn't do it now, right? This gives you the pattern of the pentatonic scale. Bam, yeah. Okay. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was very challenging bringing it to you, but I think very important. Okay, just to close off, we have one more, and I want to do one more video for the year to close out the year. That will be sort of a Christmas thing. Let's leave it at that for now, all right? And just to close off this one, I just want to remind you that one, you can like this video at the end of it, please do. And I would also, let's go back here. I would also want to encourage you to encourage others to go to our website here. This is the address of the website, cultureconnect.org, and not .com. All right, and when you go there, you are going to see the home screen, and the home screen looks like this. This will be the home screen of the music, the cultureconnect.org. And on the top of the home screen here, you have the music in, which is a button. So you just press that button and it carries you to the sign up screen. So please share this video for one and encourage others to sign up for the course. All right. And I will see you in a few weeks. Okay. So we'll end here.